Prairie Grit's been an amazing experience for me because, something I already loved, something I already, just live for. It's added a lot of extra to it, being able to see it through someone else's eyes, being able to see their new experience and their smiles and high fives, the hugs that come afterwards is just an incredible experience.
If I'm the eyes and the mouth of Prairie Grit Outdoors, that makes DJ the heart. And honestly, I think if there was ever a model for who we'd want to spread our outdoor lifestyle to the next generation, that would be DJ.
Congratulations, that's awesome. Good job, that was incredible.
No matter what hunts we have dreamt of doing, DJ has always found a way to make it happen. No matter what DJ has going on in his life, he somehow finds time to help us with any hunt at any time of the day, any temperature, any weather. DJ's always there.
DJ's just a wonderful person. It's awesome that he loves to help out with all the hunting and other things that he comes out and helps with.
Yeah, DJ has been an amazing leader for our outdoors program at Prairie Grit. The way he interacts with our athletes and the volunteers and the parents, I mean, this is family. We're just so thrilled that he's on the team and here to help. I'm lucky to call DJ a really good friend.
No matter what we do with Prairie Grit Outdoors, there is always one key thing that makes it happen, and that's DJ. So, for everything you do, thank you, DJ.
DJ, thank you.
DJ, thank you.
Thank you, DJ.
Thank you, DJ.
Thank you, DJ.
Thanks, DJ.
Every season that passes is a reminder not to take this lifestyle for granted. And the ever-growing collection of photographs serve as a testament to what's possible when you just refuse to give up. The pictures show a success that lies so much deeper than a trophy. They represent overcoming what seems like insurmountable odds and doing what some would think is impossible. But for us, impossible has no meaning. This isn't just what we do, it's who we are. We are what it means to have grit.
In the season of 2022, me, my dad, and Aaron, and a ton of other guys went to kill deer, and we went to go hunt there at a beautiful ranch.
So September of 2022, a group of us went to kill deer, and that was our second time returning to this spot to hunt. The opening weekend of archery season. Palmer's 11 years old. We get set up in there. There was a little bit of wizardry getting over the barbed wire fence or around the barbed wire fence into the blind.
Here, let me help you, man. There was a little part of me that felt bad letting Chad get shish kebabbed by the barbed wire, but when you got a good shot, you just got to sacrifice to get it. I helped him eventually.
We went out, got settled in the blind. Super fun.
One thing when hunting with someone with a mobility challenge, and even an able-bodied person, you're not exactly sure which way the deer are going to come. You set up and you make an educated guess on the deer are going to come this way, and if you're able-bodied, you can sort of adjust yourself much easier than if you're in a chair.
So we had to use our knowledge in hunting, to pick which spot or which side we're going to face.
Get out here. I need this to be warm. Okay, yeah, we'll worry about that in a second.
feel good about that?
I don't know what to think, because it's so big. I don't want to move the chair to the outside if it's a big buck.
Well, here, just practice going from that window to this window. How would you do that? Like in a real scenario, I would help you here. Okay, and we would just be really, really quiet like that. He's not amused. Is that too high? Yeah. Probably.
And lo and behold, we kind of were playing one area, and then the deer ended up coming to another area. We have deer within 45 yards, and plenty of them, plenty of eyeballs, plenty of noses to smell us.
There was these really nice bucks that came behind us, 2 of them. We tried to decide which side to face. There was this really nice tall velvet buck that came behind. So we got settled, we tried to get the shot, and then it starts just trotting away.
For the second year in a row, I was responsible for picking which direction we needed to look out of the blind when there were 2 options for the deer to go. And for the second year in a row, I chose the wrong one. This time, it cost Palmer a really nice deer.
A couple minutes later, there was this really nice wide buck, hard-horned. It was behind these trees and like in the branches, so good thing we were kind of already set like sideways so we could kind of turn each way. When it started to come in, we started to turn, so it kind of got attentive, like nervous, went behind these branches. He says, "Can you take the shot?" Then took the shot. It hit the branch, and then the deer went away. And
we got to see some really cool stuff, and Palmer ended up taking a shot at one of those deer, and I don't even recall which one it was, but his arrow hit a twig, a lot of branches in the way, and it was a good enough shot to take, and he ended up hitting a limb, which that does happen. But that was probably one of the most action-packed nights in a blind that I've had in my adult life, in terms of the quality of deer that were coming in and the quantity. It was just such a neat experience.
Like most hunts, this one was a roller coaster of emotions. We were super excited getting the opportunity to see a bunch of cool deer, and even having a shot at one. But we were also a little disappointed that, well, we couldn't make it happen. That being said, we got a text message during the day that said Wyatt shot a nice one, so we were really excited to get back to the hotel and see what was up.
So the main hunt I did this year was whitetail hunt down in Killdeer. On this trip, I was in the blind with Steve, Avery, and my dad.
Last season, I had the privilege of hunting with Wyatt again up in the Killdeer Mountains. So we got this really cool land right on the foothill of the Killdeer Mountains. And inside the blind this year, for the first time, we had Avery Bradley, who was actually filming the hunt. So first time deer hunting, first time filming.
Wyatt's deer in Killdeer was pretty memorable just for me because of the fact that that was my first hunt ever, and actually ever seeing a deer go down the way it did.
So the first evening we went hunting. We all got to the blinds, got all set up, and then we just waited.
And I was looking at the terrain, and I was really confident that the deer was going to come from our left to right. And about 20 minutes later, of course, here comes the first deer that we see is a really nice buck that's coming down the trail.
We saw a few deer before mine came in. When mine came in, Avery was kind of freaking out a little bit because it was the first time she's actually been on one of our hunts together.
I remember to click the record button, so that was good.
So the buck gives us quite the show, and Avery did a really good job of filming that buck.
The deer basically licked himself the whole, all the way, just cleaned himself basically the whole time. And then pretty soon Wyatt got a shot off and the buck went down pretty quick.
But it actually came in to about 15 yards. It was dead head on to us, so no shot was available. Then it turned and went straight away. For about 10 minutes, he just sat there dead straight away from us with no shot at all. Once
it came down to the time to shoot, I, got myself calmed down, and I took the shot.
Wyatt was steady enough and calm enough, as he always is. When that deer turned for just a split second, Wyatt hit the trigger, absolutely center punched him, and that deer didn't go but 40 yards away. And the hunt was over as quickly as that, but it was another privilege for me to be in the blind with Wyatt, again on another great prairie grit hunt.
It was pretty cool because it was even memorable too to go out and look on the trail of blood and stuff like that too, and even though I didn't hit the record button. Okay. It was fun to see the experience too when Steve did find it and be able to like look up and thank the Lord for the beautiful animal that the deer was and have the velvet antlers and everything else to be. It's just a big old family thing too, that it was like we were coming and we were super excited about it, and definitely a memory that I'll cherish forever.
Look up.
Sweet buddy. Look at that bad boy. That is just beautiful, man.
That was awesome, dude.
Wyatt, that deer is perfect. Good night.
What's up?
Nothing.
So, congrats, dude.
Thanks.
Palmer, me and you tomorrow.
The best part about Prairie Grit Outdoors to me is that we turn into a family. This isn't the place you come to just go hunting one time and then never get seen again. We talk all year round. We're excited for each other. And when we found out that Wyatt shot a deer, I was really excited to get back and celebrate with the group and then see what Avery was able to do, her first time behind the camera.
Palmer's archery hunt this fall was a return to one of our favorite locations just south of Butte.
Yeah, so fall of 2022, I think it was October, Palmer, DJ, Wells, so one of Palmer's little brothers, and I hit the field for an archery hunt.
It was the location where Wyatt took the very first prairie grit deer we'd ever filmed, first hunt we'd ever had. We keep a little corn plot in that area with some brassicas down the middle of it to keep the deer browsing through.
It wasn't too far into the hunt that we had a buck come up from the ravine and start kind of peeking out the area.
Like 30, 45 minutes later, there's this buck.
I saw the buck back in the woods, pointed out to Palmer and Chad. We watched the deer come out of the woods and it went to our left along the corn. I knew this area well enough to realize that this deer was going to circle down around the corn plot, come into the wind with the wind in his favor, and probably end up in front of us. So I looked at Chad and Palmer and I said, okay, that buck's going to be back out. We just got to give him a few minutes. Let's go ahead and get ready. When he circles around, he should come right out where we want him. I reached behind me to get something out of my backpack, and less than 60 seconds later, and Palmer said, is that him? Can I shoot?
And this deer peeks out, and I heard the click of Palmer's safety, and he asks DJ, he said, there's the deer, can I? And yeah, get your safety off. So I'm chuckling in the back because I knew his safety was off, and Palmer was ready to rock.
DJ tried to get me ready through the shot, and then he said, just get your safety off. And I said it already is, and then my dad was laughing in the back, and then we got ready. He tried to guide me through the shot, and I took the shot and double lunged it and went like 70, 75 yards into the ravine.
And got him lined up in the crosshairs, squeezed the trigger, and just plugged this deer.
Palmer's hunt happened so fast we didn't get any footage of it. So probably 30 seconds total from the time he made the first statement to the time he pulled the trigger.
And it was a celebration of epic proportion because his little brother Wells, who hasn't really hunted, he had come along a few times last year, but he hadn't seen the kills. So that was just a really special moment for me as a father, and just something I'll never forget. And the same with the boys. So it was such a cool deal.
Take it down now. I feel like this is a tree.
Palmer said, "Is that him?" And I couldn't see him to the left, and I'm like, crap, he's 10 yards in front of us. Right out.
He was right there.
That was an awesome shot, too. I'm very confident in the shot.
That didn't go through fully.
That's okay.
I just saw the buck. I just saw the
All right, I'm gonna love this green bin in here, buddy. Okay, right there, look at me in grand big. Oh yeah. All right, everybody look here. Nice.
I was out quite a bit this last fall deer hunting. I honestly can't remember how many days I was out.
And we had a lot of activity at the food plots down behind my house that's where we established our very first prairie grit blind. So it's perfectly designed, perfectly located for those archery hunts. Scott and I were sitting that evening. There have been a few smaller deer milling around. And pretty soon we look over there and a nice buck is coming from the river.
Come on, baby.
Crosses the fence, kind of hesitates there for a while, like, is this buck going to come into us? Is it not going to come into us? And then he turns, and there's a clover plot there leading into corn plots. He comes and he starts making his way through the clover plot. This buck was nervous, and I couldn't figure out why. Everything was in our favor. The wind was right. There was no way he was seeing us or hearing us, but for some reason he was on high alert. As he came through the food plot, you could just tell. His head was up a lot. He was sniffing a lot. He had that little bit of agitation to him. He was getting to the end of Scott's shooting range. We figured, okay, it's either now or never. We're not going to get another chance at this buck. So I was able to make enough of a noise to get the buck to hesitate, not quite come to a complete stop. Unfortunately, when Scott released with that buck on that high alert, he did what's called jumping the string, which when a deer hears a bow go off, sometimes if they're on high alert, they will actually jump to run. It looks like they're trying to duck the arrow. They don't know the arrow's coming, they're just jumping at a noise.
As I shot at that deer, I should have waited till he was stopped a little better than he was, because he was very on alert and knew something was going on. He was very suspicious of something going on. And I should have shot what I did, but I shot a little far back.
And after I got back to the house and slowed the video down and really watched it in slow motion, it was obvious this shot was too far back and too high to hit anything vital. So I'm pretty sure that buck survived, and if he made it through gun season and winter, maybe we'll get a chance at him again in 2023. We've had a lot of great hunts with Prairie Grit. We had a lot of fun hunts in 2022. But one of the highlights of 2022 has to be the night that we got Haley's buck. Haley's brother Hadley brought her out to meet me, went on the hunt with us. We've been sitting there for quite a while, hadn't seen anything, I don't believe. Pretty soon, hear a strange noise, like a grunt, off to our right from the blind.
There's this big cow moose, and it was probably, I don't know, like 10 yards like from the blind.
And I looked at Hadley, who was sitting over on that side. I said, you know what that was? Hadley looks out the window and says, it's a moose. Sure enough, I go over and peek out the window, and this moose has got to be about 10 to 15 yards away from the blind. Now we're trying to get windows open, and everyone's got their cell phones out trying to get good footage of this, because how often do you get to be that close to a cow moose? Well, as the video will show, we didn't realize how close we were going to get to the cow moose, because she kept coming closer and closer to the blind. Until at one point in time, she walked from our right to our left. She was so close to the blind that when you looked out the window, all you could see was brown going through. You really couldn't actually see the moose.
That was really cool to see moose, like that close. Like, I bet if you probably reached your arm out, you could have pet it.
We were all happy at that point in time. Awesome experience. You know, it doesn't get much better than that. It couldn't have been 15 minutes later. I look up and coming through the woods, I see movement. And I'm like, is a moose coming back?
He came from like directly in front of us. He was like dancing around in the corn. And then he came to get a bite.
I was like, no, pretty soon, no, that's a deer. And then I noticed it's a small buck. It was making its way into the food plot. Haley and I talked back and forth. You know, she knew she wasn't going to get out to hunt a lot this year. If this buck gave her the opportunity, she certainly wanted to take the shot.
What do you think if he comes in? Are you gonna do it?
The buck came in, fed for a little bit, finally turned and gave us that perfect broadside shot. Told Haley, if you've got the shot, go ahead and take it.
You can take that shot right there if you got it. Nice shot. I think you got him, girl. Still.
She made an excellent shot on it. We watched the buck go off into the trees.
That was awesome.
At that point in time, we're losing light, starting to get dark. I rewound the video, watched it. I'm certain this is a good shot, so we're gonna go try to track this deer. Brother Hadley is here with me. We're gonna go see if we can find a blood trail and hopefully a lighted knock and a deer at the other end of it. So, Haley, hope we'll be back in a few minutes. So we go find first blood going into the woods, and a little blood here and a little blood there, and anyone that's ever blood trailed knows, you know, you do that for a little ways and then you lose it. Well, probably took Hadley and I 10 minutes or so piecing together the trail, figuring out where the buck went, and pretty soon there it is in front of us.
What should I say?
Just tell her we're going to be a few minutes. We got to get this deer drug out of the woods.
Hey, Haley. We're gonna be a few minutes. We gotta drag this dead deer out of here.
Oh, you found it.
Good job, girl.
Oh, good.
Give us a couple minutes. We'll be coming out on the left-hand side of the corn.
And me and DJ went to find it and took it to the wrong side of the field, so we had to walk it back to the other side. And then we went and got Haley and picked the deer up.
An amazing evening. Brother and sister get to spend time together, get to watch a cow moose almost so close enough you can touch it several times from the blind. Then Haley makes a great shot on her buck, and Hadley gets to go help track it. So it's hard to get any better than what that evening was. Good, Haley. Look happy.
I felt pretty excited for her to do it, and she had a nice opportunity to kill the deer and antelope and many other animals.
That was pretty cool. Hadley was pretty proud.
We drove to Gillette, Wyoming, and DJ introduced us to the landowner that we were hunting on.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Good to see you.
This is our gang.
You got a gang too,
We
don't
got a
you?
gang, and it's a good gang.
Ben.
Hey Ben, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Glad you could be here.
Thank you for having us.
Hello, young lady.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Your hands are cold. They outfit you with some good mittens or anything?
Yeah.
Kind of got a trigger finger in it?
Funny, as we drove up, there was multiple antelope in his front yard.
Well, it's like somebody said, well, why don't I just go hunting here? I said, no. I trained these guys to be here to make your mouths water so I can take you someplace else and make you think I really do have lots of antelope. I do have lots of antelope.
That we were not allowed to shoot, even though they were shootable antelope for sure. And he then proceeded to show us the different spots that we were going to set up at.
So this was my second year going to Wyoming with Prairie Grit. We had two hunters. I was with Ben and his father-in-law Carrie, Haley, her dad, DJ, and Chad Richardson. They were in another blind.
We could tell the rut was on because the one buck that we were watching was chasing every buck out of that valley
Once we got our blind set up, there were antelope all over the place. It was like we sat there and we saw a herd of does and one nice buck that was just pushing everything around. It didn't matter what came in, any buck from any direction, this one dominant buck that was in our water hole was just pushing everything around the whole countryside. It was super fun to watch.
Start walking and he'd sprint across and push him all the way up the hill.
I'll be honest, I was pushing and rooting for Ben to kill that buck right away. He was a great buck, he was giving us good video, he was obviously the dominant buck in the area because nothing would come within 1,000 yards of him without getting ran off the countryside. And he gave us probably 6 or 7 different times where he would come in from a distance, come to the water hole, and it would have been just an absolute layup.
If it was a public land, I probably would have shot it for sure, but as we know, this was thousands and thousands of acres that had never been hunted this year, so I thought, well, might as well wait. So we decided to wait on that buck even though we looked at it for 4 hours.
In the end, Ben decided he wanted to give it a little extra time, take advantage of the days that we had, and he decided to hold off on that buck.
Aaron wanted me to shoot it, Carrie said don't shoot it, so I just flipped a coin and didn't end up shooting it. Haley got her buck that night.
This was our 3rd year having the opportunity to go to Wyoming for antelope hunting, which is a completely different experience than the whitetail and the turkey hunting we do around here. It was Haley's first time ever doing something like this, so it was pretty exciting getting her out there. Chad Richardson, Pat Grainer, Haley and I all went to a blind we call the windmill water hole.
Like, you would just see like herds of antelope just running around everywhere, like, it was crazy.
We saw antelope off in the distance, but we sat there for a while and there wasn't anything getting overly close. And pretty soon we'd been watching a buck off in the distance slowly make his way toward us. He got into the field off to our right, probably 300-400 yards out. Didn't seem overly interested in what we were doing. And pretty soon, I believe it was Pat, noticed there was another antelope coming off the hill behind us, another buck antelope. When that buck came down, now things got more active. There was some territorial issues going on between the bucks. You couldn't really tell whether they were friends or whether they were adversaries. But when both bucks got into the field, started chasing each other around a little bit, then they started making their way toward the water hole. We were set up about 140 yards off the water hole, assuming the antelope were going to cross the trail and give her that 100-yard shot or so. As we watched the antelope, we decided one of them was definitely the bigger of the two. If we had the opportunity for that one, that's the one we wanted to get.
The one that I shot, he wasn't the first one that came by. He was like the second one that came by.
After they had chased each other around for a while, spent some energy, they needed water. They needed something to drink. So they came into the water hole just like we hoped they would. The smaller buck came up there and paused, looked back our way. I ranged that at like 110, 115 yards and whispered in Haley's ear at that point in time, the second one's going to come up and give you that same opportunity. When it does, go ahead and have your safety off and be ready. Pick your spot, squeeze that trigger.
Put those crosshairs right where you want it to be and slowly squeeze that trigger. You got him. You got him.
He's gone down.
That's right, but he's not
Now?
liking it. Down.
He went down.
We did it! We did it! Good job. That was incredible. Whew. Sure enough, the antelope did exactly what we wanted it to do. Walked up there just before it went down to the water hole, stopped broadside, stared back at us. We gave Haley the go-ahead, said if you've got the shot, go ahead, take your time, squeeze the trigger and make it. Haley made an awesome shot. And then it was all celebrations in the blind. getting out there, taking pictures, enjoying everything that hunting the open prairie of Wyoming should be that time of the year.
Are you done yet? Oh, I'm done. I cannot hear you. My ears are ringing. Oh, it's not.
He is nice.
That's a little close, Dad.
Girl's got a big smile.
The next morning, we're making our way into our other blind set, and we see just a bruiser of a buck just right off the road, maybe 300-400 yards in front of us.
So as we're driving up to where we were going to go the next day, this buck started walking up from the valley and looked pretty nice.
We are absolutely going to take an opportunity at a beauty like that any day of the week, and we made a play.
So we reversed back down so that he couldn't see us. Carrie, Aaron, DJ all jumped in the back of my truck.
I don't see him, Ben. I'm guessing he ran on out past the tank.
Okay, so drive forward.
I'll give you a if I see him.
And started driving slowly with my gun out the window, and
He's straight ahead. So we're gonna have to get positioned.
where? On the left side of the road?
Side of the tank, in the road. He's in the road.
It started walking up the hill a little bit, so I stopped and got the antelope horns in my scope and waited there for a second, let him run up, and then DJ said shoot it, and it stopped for a good solid second and took the shot, and that was it.
Hey!
I can't see him yet.
Hey! Hey! Hell yeah! Woo! That's the way you drop a goat.
Oh, shaking.
So it was an awesome hunt, and I really enjoyed it, and super pumped about it.
No, you're not.
What?
Nothing. Okay.
Right here. Yeah. It didn't just happen when he went down, did it?
No.
He stepped into the road, and I hollered at him, and I said, "Shoot, Ben!" And Ben pulled the trigger.
Boom, and it went down.
It's
nasty.
Just awesome, and awesome cutters. That's it. Everything you could ask for right there.
That is a good goat.
You always hear people say, don't pass on the first day what you'd shoot on the last. And I was really nervous that we were going to end up regretting not taking that nice buck the first day. But in the end, Ben made the right decision, because the buck he ended up getting was something special. So really pumped for him.
This year was actually my first hunt with Prairie Grit, was the pheasant hunt. I'm on the board of Pheasants for the Future, and the board and Prairie Grit wanted to do something this year.
Oh, I see one running back there.
We were so grateful for Pheasants for the Future to help us out getting an adaptive pheasant hunt together. Not only did they get our guys out chasing some birds, but we got to do some behind the scenes as well. Some of our hunters got the chance to go check out a pheasant raising operation. They also got to band some birds and then get them released. And it was such a cool and learning experience for a lot of them.
Hold one, get it banded. It's real easy.
The hunt was equal parts awesome and challenging, because this is one of the first times we've gotten to be able to go after the animals and not try to get them to come to us. But with every level of difficulty comes another level of excitement, and our guys were stoked to have the opportunity.
So the number one thing today is to be super safe, right? If you can't identify that it's a rooster, don't pull the trigger. If the bird is low to the ground by the dog, don't pull the trigger. Make sure the bird gets up and clear. Yeah, make sure you're pointing your gun in a direction that you intend it to go to, and you don't shoot anything you don't intend to kill.
It was a pretty cold day, but we went out and Pheasant for Future released some pheasants out that morning for us that were actually hunting, and we shot quite a few pheasants and a couple other birds. We had grouse, partridge, everything out there. It was a fun time. We had a blast with it. I think everybody at least got 1 or 2 birds, so it ended up being a pretty good day.
This pheasant hunt gave us the perfect opportunity to get our guys in the track chairs and get the track chairs into the field. The truth is, a pheasant hunt would be completely impossible without them.
Partridge! Rooster! Got it! Yeah!
Right there, partridge!
Got it! Yeah!
Shot!
Good bird, good bird.
Great shooting, Scott! Rooster! Yeah!
So the total of us hunters that were out that day, there was 5 of us out there. Some guys went to the entry home, came back. Some kind of hopped off the track wheelchair, which is the best creation ever because it just made it so much easier to actually hunt on instead of trying to go through the field with a regular wheelchair. And 5 of us that were out there, we all at least got 1 or 2 birds.
On behalf of all of us at Prairie Grit Outdoors, I want to give a big, huge, sincere thank you to Pheasants for the Future for setting this up, and we look forward to doing some cool things with you guys in the future.
As I've said before, Sandhills Dairy is a great place for us to get our prairie grit hunters in for late season turkeys. We got Scott out that day. I believe Wyatt and Craig were in the blind as well.
It was my first time out with Prairie Grit turkey hunting.
We had a lot of turkeys come through like we always do when we're hunting up at the dairy. Couldn't get a gobbler to come in for nothing. A lot of hens coming through, a lot of jakes, that kind of thing. So we're watching a group of turkeys off to our right, and there's more coming out of the woods, and our attention is really focused on them. And all of a sudden we hear something, and Craig says, "There's a turkey." I'm like, "Where?" He goes, "To our left." I can't even see it. I'm supposed to be running the camera, and I can't even see this turkey. So I'm like, "Craig, where's it at?" And he said, "It's right there beside the blind." Scott said, "Okay, I can see it." And I'm like, "Well, first of all, this is Scott's first turkey. We want him to fill his tag. That's #1 priority." So I tell him, "Go ahead and get your safety off. When it gives you an opportunity, we're going to take it."
Did you get a chance to kill him, Scott? Kill him. That'll work.
At that point in time, the turkey started walking out toward the other turkeys in the decoy. It was obvious that he wasn't going to stop and he wasn't going to hesitate and give us any other opportunity. So I gave Scott the go-ahead. If you feel comfortable taking the shot, go ahead and take it. Boom. He took that shot. It was just a matter of a few seconds this happened in. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
First bearded turkey?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. The great thing about this is Scott was able to get his very first tom turkey.
All the turkeys were quite a ways away, but we finally got one that was down to us and got my very first tom turkey that day last year.
Very cool. Nice one.
Thank you.
Pretty collars on him too.
Yes.
Wyatt, the turkey guide.
It was the middle of December, and Aaron and I and DJ went out turkey hunting, and we were in a farmyard.
The last 2 Decembers, we've been very fortunate to get on the property at the Sandhills Dairy, which that time of the year holds a lot of turkeys. All the turkeys from the Sandhills kind of congregate there. It's an incredible hunt. You get to see a lot of animals, but it's also a bit of a challenge. One, you're trying to set up and maneuver wheelchairs in a farmyard that's got hay and ruts and snow and that kind of thing in it. So it makes a little bit of a challenge there. It's also pretty cold in December, so we set up the big blind. We try to get some heat in there so everyone can be somewhat comfortable. This last December we had Drew out one afternoon. It was a beautiful afternoon. It was pretty chilly. We had a big flock of turkeys came in. We thought we might be able to make something happen there. For some reason, I can't remember what it was, those turkeys got spooked and ended up going back to the woods. A little while later, we started seeing turkeys filter back out. And finally, 2 nice toms came into the decoys. When they got in there close, I told Drew when he thought there was enough separation between the birds that he wasn't going to get both of them, to go ahead and take the shot. And sure enough, Drew made a great shot and ended up taking home a beautiful turkey at the end of the hunt.
There was 2 really nice toms that came in right to our decoys. I ended up getting one, and it was a successful hunt. It was a lot of fun. I remember it being very cold and windy that day, but we got her done right at the end of the year, in the perfect time. So
the second hunt I did this year was turkey hunting.
Sandhills Dairy has been really good to us the last few Decembers in turkey season, that late season turkey hunt. You know, as the snow starts falling, it starts getting colder, those turkeys are coming to a food source, and there's an endless food source at the dairy.
We kind of just chilled in the cold and waited for the turkeys to show up. And it took a while, but they finally were able to, actually show themselves. And
so we get to see a lot of turkeys. We use a gubbin set in the end of the hay bales. The turkeys are back in the woods in the sand hills. They make their way out through the day. The biggest challenge with this is it's awesome to see that many birds, but you're waiting to get those gobblers to come in. And when they come in, can you get enough separation between them and the other turkeys that you're not getting more than one turkey when you pull the trigger?
Yeah, we kind of just sat it out, waiting for them to give me the right shot. And when it came down to the moment, I took the shot and we were good to go.
Got it. We got enough separation at that point in time that Wyatt was able to fill his tag, and I happened to have a tag in my pocket, so we were able to fill my tag at the same time. So we got a prairie grit double that afternoon. It was pretty amazing.
It's all over but the pictures, huh?
A little bit of flopping.
A little bit of flopping.
So DJ reached out to me around Christmas time, and he said, hey, I have an open stand and there's deer coming in right now because of the cold. Would you like to sit and potentially shoot a deer? I was like, sure, yeah, I'm down for that. Maybe 3 days later, he said, all right, let's go out tomorrow. And I looked and it was like negative 16 degrees, and I was like, that does not sound fun.
In the area down behind my house, I had some corn plots out down there, and when we saw those temperatures plummet, I noticed on my trail cameras that deer activity really picked up.
We were sitting there waiting. These deer started moving in to us, but then they must have smelled something or just didn't feel right, so they slowly backed off.
The deer were really frustrating. They would come within 40 yards, not really giving a shot, but they would hang up on the fence line and then they would turn back around and walk where they came from. And this happened 3 or 4 times as we sat there throughout the day.
So we had several bucks that went around us, wouldn't quite come in, a lot of does milling around. And I'm sitting at the back of the blind, and pretty soon I see Ben and Aaron pointing. You can tell, they're a little bit excited over this.
I spotted a deer, the deer I shot on the left side of us, barely coming in. And we watched him for a good solid 15 minutes.
So we see this buck, a nice buck, over next to a fence, and we could just see him through a couple of little trees. And it seemed like he was there for 45 minutes, but it was probably only about 5.
Stayed patient, and he jumped the fence and slowly walked in on us.
That's what we're looking for. Here we go, Benny.
And then Aaron or DJ, I can't honestly remember who did it, did a perfect grunt. The deer stopped perfectly in its tracks, stared right at us, and released the arrow, and it was perfect.
Matt. Nice shot, man.
That's the end, buddy.
I think that was a great shot.
It was a perfect shot. I'm still watching him.
Well done, man. That's patience right there. Nice buck.
Benny!
Aaron and I started tracking the deer, and it was obvious right away. We had a good blood trail. We're gonna find this deer soon. It probably went about 125 yards, and I saw it piled up in the snow off in the distance. So we go take a picture, and we send it back to Ben to let him know we find it. And then Aaron and I had to drag this thing out through the cold and the snow, which it can be a little bit of a challenge. We were breathing pretty heavily by the time we got it back to the blind to show it to Ben, and Ben was all smiles.
It was very cold though, because Aaron and DJ went to get the deer, and I think Aaron basically frostbit his hands off getting back. DJ was struggling a little bit too because it was just so cold. And
he told us when we were gone, he had looked at the temperature on his phone, and when he killed the deer, it was 14 degrees below zero. So that will probably go down in history. I know it's the coldest prairie grit hunt so far, and I don't know if anyone's going to beat it. I don't even know if anyone's going to want to beat getting something at 14 below zero. He made you wait, but he's worth it. He's just perfect from one side to the other.
Yeah, he is. Look at that. That's awesome.
Between Ben's bear that he shot at the end of last year in the last GRIT movie, his antelope that he got this year, and the buck that he got with this crossbow, it was an absolute just season of a lifetime for Ben, and I was excited to be along with him on all the hunts.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We're excited to be here, man.
Yeah, that's great.
And
really good.
It's a little
Hi,
warmer
guys.
and drier than it was last year.
Yes, it is. It's
It's a
hot
lot
today.
warmer and drier.
That's for sure. How you
Good to see you
doing?
again.
Good, good. How are you? Good
to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Hey, Power.
Good
to see you.
The good thing about coming out to Ladouce TNT is that you don't feel like you're out with a guide at a guide service. I mean, we are part of their family and they're part of ours, and it's cool, and you can tell. The first night was everything you hope for in a hunting camp. I mean, it was one of those like once in a lifetime type moments where all of us were around the campfire. Drew was playing guitar, we were all singing. It was just like the trip could have ended after night 1 and it would have been a successful trip.
Lazy yellow moon coming up tonight, shining through the trees. Crickets are singing and lightning bugs are floating on the breeze. Baby, get ready.
Across the entire weekend, the weather was, I think, everything you could possibly have in Manitoba in the springtime.
So first day we went out, it was at some cabin area.
Wilder throughout the week. Put it in the cage.
We went out and then they got the baits ready. Then we just got settled in. Once they left, we sat there for a little while. We got to see some cool birds and then a couple of squirrels, and then we just sat there for a while. Then at the end of the night, there was no bears.
In the blinds, we really didn't have any service, so we couldn't check in with the other hunters. But when we got done, we found out that both of our other hunters shot bears, and so the excitement level was like way, way up in camp.
So we got in the blind. Everything was good. We got situated. That took a little bit, just figuring out the angles. We just sat there quiet for what seemed like forever. And then I think it was like 7:30ish. We saw 4 cubs come into the bait site and like absolutely devour the beaver. And then 2 of them actually got into like a little fight over the beaver. And then we were just sitting there, picking ticks off the swatting mosquitoes, and then the bear that I shot came strolling in. He kind of came in there walking like he was like king of the forest or something. And he walked behind the barrels so I couldn't get a shot at him. And then he sat right behind a tree and like laid down. It was eating the oats that were on the ground. And then he was probably laying there for like 10-15 minutes, so I was able to calm myself down. But at the beginning there, I could hear like my heart beating in my chest, like I could hear it thumping. He eventually stood up, walked behind the bait, and then he came back around and walked in front of him. But he was like kind of skittering off. And then Jeff like kind of made a little noise. He looked back and I took a shot and nailed him. So not finding the bear right away that night because it was too dark out, that was an emotional roller coaster. And then when we went back the next morning, it took maybe 10-15 minutes to kind of like find the blood trail and track him down.
Then there was blood, and then blood, and I touched myself. She was way more nervous than she was letting anyone know.
I bet you probably started to come back, just like that one last night when we were down.
Yeah.
The old fish hook.
Does Jeff know you guys found it? He made a loop back is what he did.
And they found him, and yeah, it was like a relief that I was feeling when they said that they found him.
Told you. Congratulations, Amy. Huh? Good job, Haley. You like them? Huh?
Yeah.
So night 1 of hunting up here in Manitoba, we got up to the blind at about 4 in the afternoon here.
Just like that. Drew's hunt was at a blind we had success with last year. Didn't expect to see anything for a while after you get there. We probably hadn't been there 15 minutes. And Richie starts pointing to the left, bear, bear, bear. And we can't see this bear because it's coming in directly from our left-hand side. We didn't realize that it was literally walking right up to the blind.
There was a bear about 2 feet away, looking right into the window of the blind, and it got right up to the opening and kind of scared us. And that was my first experience in front of a bear, so it was a little tense.
Literally walks right up, almost sticks its head in the window of the blind right in front of Drew. I had told people if there would have been glass in the window, he would have left snot prints on the window. He was that close.
Turns out at about a little after 9 p.m. we were still sitting there and nothing had been happening, and DJ actually heard something over across the road from where we were sitting.
Till finally the wind had gone down and I started hearing some stuff in the brush off to the right. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a squirrel, that doesn't sound like a bird. There's something bigger moving out there. So we look out there and sure enough, nice bear coming in. He didn't want to come in. I'm pretty sure he must have circled downwind and knew we were there, because he would stand out there and stare at the blind, stare at the bait site for several minutes.
Come on, stud.
Came from the right of our blind as we were looking at it, and kind of was scurrying around in the woods for quite a while. He wouldn't come into the bait right away.
Finally, he comes back from the left to the right, comes over there. Now, Drew says that he's ready. Bear reaches out with that paw that's on our side, gives him the perfect shot, and Drew makes an excellent shot on the bear.
No. Okay, perfect. Right there. Get him. That's awesome. Be quiet.
About 9:15, I think, is when I took the shot on him and finally had a clear shot at him. And really nice bear. The biggest adrenaline rush that I have ever felt in my life. So it was really cool, a really cool experience.
Oh my God. Love you, buddy. We are going to find my bear.
Just take it easy, I got a load here. Come on, Aaron.
Drew, you bruised it. You know I'll get it.
Guys, it's right here.
There he is.
Oh man.
These are the days that make it all worth it, huh? Today's a good day, huh?
Today's a great day. Today is a good day.
Thank you all. This is awesome.
Let's go take some pictures.
Do it. Get him out of here, yeah.
And we'll figure out what goes where once we get going. Did you guys take 2 chairs in with the blind?
2 in this spot. What distance do you
Day 2 and 3 were pretty much the same for our blind. We went in, we sat for 5 hours, we saw all kinds of cool animals, we heard sounds that we wouldn't hear normally at home. It was really exciting. The only thing we were missing was that darn black bear. We had talked before coming into the blind for day 4 that this was going to be our last day. We knew we were hitting the road, and this was our 4th quarter. On the other pole of our first night hunting, this was 39 degrees, it was rainy, it was cold, the weather just seemed like animals would be moving.
The last night, the 4th night, we sat. It was so quiet, but it was raining.
One of the cool things about being in the bush is that, you know, once our motion and the commotion of us coming in the blind kind of settles down, it just comes alive. It didn't take very long before we had birds and squirrels, and we even got visited by an American marten, which was really cool. But, you know, no matter what we saw, we were still just waiting for that bear.
last like 3 minutes to 5 minutes of shooting light, a bear pops out.
I've seen a lot of hunting TV shows, and I know that magic happens at the very end of the very end. And I had been staring down this road for 5 hours, just visualizing a bear walking down it. And with about 3 minutes of shooting light left, all of a sudden I look and there's a big black blob coming towards us. And there it was, and this big bear starts coming in, and I'm thinking, wow, we might pull it off. Instantly, Palmer starts getting shaky. Start hearing him breathe funny. Jeff is all excited. He's like into game time, and I'm back with the camera. And as fast as that bear came into our lives, it left. That bear took about 10 yards towards us, stopped, looked around, kind of moved its way off into the brush, and we never saw it again.
It was just a waiting game, and then we just ended the night. But it was really cool to see one. Bear camp felt like home to me.
As each season passes, we fill the pages of our story with new memories. Snapshots of our adventures helping us relive the moments we'll never forget. With each year that goes by, our photo album grows, and we're reminded of how far we've come. Showing the world that with grit, we can do anything. We're 3 seasons down, but we have forever to go.